what your sacrifice was for. Empty chairs and empty tables. Take 50. Okay. I really don't like the word tips. Just to be very clear as to what it is that I'm saying, tips. It just sounds as though, hey, follow these 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, follow these 10 things, check them off a box, and you'll be absolutely fine. So I'm probably going to label this video tips as to how we can stop binge eating, or tips as to how we can move away from something we're addicted to, etc. And that's really just because I do want to try and attract the people that might benefit from what it is that we're discussing today. But let's just keep in mind that we can't just check things off of a box and we'll be absolutely okay. I really hope for what it is that we're going to talk about today to be a little bit more nuanced than just pursue these tips. I hope they're strategies that go deeper and beyond binge eating. Because moving away from binge eating, it goes deeper than just let me do the 5 things to stop binge eating. We have to transcend beyond the internal and soulful mental drudge and muck to a place of peace where we feel confident and secure enough to pursue what it is that we're designed to pursue. When we're not doing that, when we're not doing what it is that we're designed to do, we're out of order. We're out of the puzzle that we fit into, and we're living in chaos. And it's leading us to revert to things that we're addicted to and to cycle through a false adventure. We have to transcend to a place of peace so we can be open to pursue what it is that we are designed to do. When you're doing what it is that you're designed to do, it's as if you're a piece in a puzzle and somebody just placed you in this beautiful puzzle, and once it smooths out, it's nicely ordered and it creates a beautiful masterpiece. Addiction, binge eating, means we're out of the puzzle that we're designed to be in. So, tips as to how we can stop binge eating. Before we get into that, I have to give a disclaimer. Let's please keep in mind, I am not a clinician. It is my goal to one day be a clinician and to help people in a clinical capacity in regard to addiction, binge eating, etc., depression, but I do not have a clinical resume. What I do have a resume for is binge eating. There is a long list of all the times that I've binged ate, had obsessive thoughts about food, over-exercise, under-exercise, was lazy, was far too disciplined, you name it. I've got that resume. So let's not think of this discussion as one from a clinician to a client, but one from a friend who's really struggled with disordered eating to a friend who's maybe struggled with something similar. Before we get into these strategies, just sit with yourself for a second. Some of this is going to be noise to you, and some of these things might really resonate with you. Notice those things, because when it comes to healing from something that is a terrible struggle, you cannot copy and paste somebody else's healing journey into your own life and expect it to fit perfectly. The things that we should be doing to heal are the things that resonate with us, the things that really speak to us. So I just encourage you to listen and to notice those things that, kind of make your ears perk up a little bit, and to chalk everything else up to being a grain of salt. Concept number 1. Contextualize the noise and notice how your body feels. In the world of nutrition and exercise, Read any of the research, dive into any of the books, podcast, and it will seem and feel incredibly contradictory, and it seems very confusing. And maybe part of the reason that you have had to dive into binge eating and obsessive thoughts about food is because you're being pulled back and forth in different eating workout directions. When we're not pursuing one North Star, when we're pursuing and wavering back and forth, it leads to chaos, hence the disordered eating. And the contradictory nutritional noise, I think, is in part why we're being dragged around like a rag doll when it comes to eating and exercising. And it might not be that the world of nutrition is contradictory. It might just mean that we need to contextualize what it is that we're listening to in regard to what it is that we need, in regard to how it is that we're living our lives and conducting ourselves. I'll give an example. Let's think about a banana. You might read one thing and hear, hey, bananas are really bad. You eat them when they're super ripe. It means that they have more simple sugars in them and it's going to cause your glycemic index to absolutely spike. Stay away from the bananas. Then you might read something else that says, hey, bananas are a great source of energy. They're good. They have natural sugars in them. It's not like you're going to the store and drinking a packet of white sugar. Contradictory information. Let's contextualize it. Did you eat a banana and only a banana plus some coffee for breakfast in the morning without any protein or fat to stabilize the breakdown of the nutrition, of the sugars, right? The banana's gonna break down quicker than, say, the peanut butter. So did you eat only the banana and coffee, causing your blood sugar to go absolutely out of whack and you crash just a couple days or a couple hours into your workday? The banana's not bad. If you contextualize the way you ate it, it just might mean that you didn't fuel your body properly. It didn't make you feel your best. Contextualize the noise. Notice how your body feels. It's not bad. You just didn't eat it in the right way. It didn't make you feel your best. Now let's say you have a banana before a workout. Simple sugars. It's going to break down quickly. You're going to have a quick source of energy. You might have the best freaking workout of your life. Walk out of the gym feeling like a new human being. The banana's not necessarily good. You fueled your body properly. Now, just to clarify, maybe you don't like bananas and maybe you don't have this intimate relationship with bananas and you don't love them. This is just an example. Contextualize the contradictory information. Bananas are good, bananas are bad. In terms of what it is that you need, how it is that you're living your day-to-day lives, and notice how it makes your body feel. So then the next day you might decide, you know what, I'm not going to eat just the banana alone. I'm going to add some eggs on the side or some peanut butter to it. Or, hey, I'm going to eat the banana again before my 3-mile run. Contextualize the noise and notice how your body feels. That leads me to the second concept or strategy. In order to contextualize the noise, we have to find opportunities for silence. If we're constantly being bombarded with different diets, eat this, don't eat that, track your calories, make sure you're in a deficit, but not too much of a deficit because you don't want to be malnourished, because if you're malnourished, then your metabolic rate goes down and then you try to eat food and then you're storing fat, but don't overeat. And only eat at specific times a day. But actually, wait, maybe the times a day don't matter. Intermittent fast. Actually, don't intermittent fast for the sake of your muscle mass. If you're a woman, maybe you should fast at a specific time of day, but not at this time of day. There's so much noise. How could we possibly contextualize if we're constantly bombarded and our hearts and our souls and our minds are being pulled in 100 different directions? remove yourself from the noise to follow your instinct, which I believe your instinct is oftentimes God trying to get your attention. You can't listen or notice your instinct if we're constantly consuming information. I sit with a cup of coffee in the morning before the world gets up, before my own mind is racing and being pulled in 100 different directions. And I just listen. What comes across my mind and how does it make my body feel? Does it give me more peace? Does it make me anxious? Does it make me angry? Does it make me scared? Does it give me confidence? My intellect is speaking then to me via how it makes my body feel. God is peace. God is love. God is beauty. If something gives you peace, it's probably from God. So when it comes to, I'm so confused with how it is that I should be eating, there is so much noise. In the quiet of the morning, is there something that you know you should just be pursuing? Not impacted by the reading, the research, the podcast, the Instagram reels. Is there something you just know you need to pursue? Does it give you peace? Now, God doesn't always necessarily give us complete peace. Sometimes we're a little bit nervous to do what it is that God calls us to do. But if there is a knowing, maybe you should try and pursue that. And again, as St. John, I'm getting that wrong, as he says, test the spirits. Does it lead to more order or does it lead to more chaos when you pursue that thing? And when that thing comes across your mind, you feel that instinct, that knowing in the morning, do you get outside confirmation that that's something you should pursue? We're kind of talking about discernment here. I maybe should have given a disclaimer that this conversation is going to be a little bit more about faith, because for me, moving away from binge eating really came from learning who God is and how I can discern his will. So we're kind of talking about discernment here. And again, I'm not a monk, okay? I'm not a nun. I haven't spent hours at a monastery. I haven't read all of St. Thomas Aquinas, okay? Take this as a grain of salt. Maybe it'll help. But we're talking about discernment, and as spiritual directors say, do you get outside confirmation? Is there just this knowing within you? Again, it goes beyond food. The moving away from binge eating and what you're addicted to goes beyond food. You might sit in your bed in the morning and think, I just really feel called to get outside more. And you're like, oh, I don't know. I hate getting sunburned and it's raining. And, yeah, I see people's dogs at the park and I don't like them. You're crazy if you don't like dogs. But anyway, I just feel like I really need to get outside. And again, it might not be this complete peaceful feeling. You're thinking of all the, what's the word? Not inadequacies, but all the annoyances of having to get outside. But you just know. Later that day, you're walking around Barnes & Noble and there's a book and it says the 10 reasons as to why you should get outside, and it just really sticks out to you. And then you're talking to a friend as you're having a cup of coffee and they're like, I've just really been thinking I need to get outside more. And you're like, oh my gosh. Okay, I get it. That's kind of how God speaks. And then you go and you get outside more. And you have this amazing peace. And you feel good, you feel refreshed. And oh my gosh, I stopped thinking about food for 2 hours. And I really feel at peace. And when I'm at peace, I want to take care of myself. So I want to go home, eat a fulfilling, satiating, and healthy meal. Because when you're at peace, you want to love yourself. And to eat healthy to satiety is to love yourself. It's to properly fuel yourself. That's the process of discernment. I want to give my own example. Last fall, when I really decided I need to come up with a different system in regard to eating and working out, because what I've been doing for the past 9 years is leading me to consistently cycle through binge eating, lose weight, gain it back. And there is no peace. So I said, I have to lean into the things that are opposite to what it is that I'm doing now. And I finally have to trust not the people with the videos on 10 tips on how to lose weight, on how to grow muscle mass and lose fat, as to how much protein should I be eating. Those videos are really helpful for people that are not aware of nutrition. But I had been watching those videos for 9 years, and at that point, I knew the nutritional difference between an avocado and an apple, and I have an internal mental Excel spreadsheet of the caloric and nutritional content of most common foods that I eat. I could rattle a list off right now, but I'm not, because I'm not here to impress my neuroticism, and if you're here, you probably could do the same thing too. I didn't need those videos anymore. I needed to actually lean into what was going to be more difficult, and that was breaking the chains with trying to hyper control what it is that I ate and how my body looked. And in the quiet of the morning, before the world got up, I just had this sense, Teresa, you need to return to how they tell you to eat in health class. You need to eat breakfast, you need to eat lunch, and you need to eat dinner. 3 meals a day. And at the end of the day, if you want something sweet, guess what? You're a human being. That's normal. Most people want some dessert in the evening. And if you have a little bit of dessert every day, you're probably going to be okay, and you're still going to feel hungry the next morning, and you'll be ready for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I just had this sense and this knowing that I really needed to give up the ideas and my connection to fasting. I worked at a research institute that did a lot of amazing work and came out with a lot of amazing research in regard to fasting. Not the only research, right? Fasting research has its roots in cancer research. I think, honestly, since the 1930s, they noticed that fasting can help starve cancer cells. And given a close family member of mine who had cancer when I was very little, I developed this sense that I have to do everything in my power to ensure that I don't get cancer and that I can heal myself holistically by fasting. And so I was afraid to overeat, which meant that every time I ate, I was afraid and not allowing myself to eat the food from a mental perspective. And so what would end up happening is I would realize how hungry my body was, and then I would get frustrated and I would end up overeating because I was so attached to, I have to keep my body in this fasted state. It is best for me. It will help me to be my healthiest. And you know what? I'm going to preemptively kill any cancer cells before I even know that they exist. I was falsely attached to this thing. And it led to binge eating. It's been known since the late 80s, early 90s that the antecedent to binge eating is restriction. And when the researchers looked at the individuals who were reporting this restriction, they noticed their BMIs are healthy, sometimes even over the recommended metric. So what's happening? It's the mindset of restriction that's then leading the individuals to overeat. I've talked about this before. It's pretty much common knowledge, but I needed to lean into the fact that I could not, with my hands gripped tightly to the wheel, contort my heart and my mind to fast. The difference between somebody with a healthy relationship with food and somebody with a bad relationship with food, I don't know, I was getting those two, a good relationship with food and a bad relationship with food, is somebody who has a good relationship with food is probably fasting out of a place of love. They're doing it because they're like, holy cow, I'm flying high. I'm connecting with God. I am like Buddha underneath this tree. I'm going to get to, enlightenment, nirvana, whatever you want to call it. Holy cow, I'm getting to heaven. The person with the bad relationship with food is hanging on for dear life to get to 8 a.m. without eating. And that's what I was doing. And in the quiet of the morning, God was saying, Teresa, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And later that day or later that week, whenever it was, I was listening to Dr. Andy Galpin on Mari Llewellyn's The Pursuit of Wellness podcast. This is a biochemist saying, hey, actually I have the quote from what he said. Let me pull it up. He said, there is actually excellent research on this. When you match people calories for calories and for other macronutrients, so these are individuals, they're eating the same amount of food, they're eating the same macros. When you match them for this, the ones that eat them more consistently and at more consistent times will have more effective weight management than those that are eating inconsistently throughout the day. He said it's nothing to do with timing. He's not saying that you have to eat at these specific times of day, but so long as it's consistent for you, it is more effective for weight management. He says eat 1 meal a day, eat 6 meals a day. I don't care. That doesn't particularly matter physiologically. Come up with a system that works best for you, but you need to have a somewhat consistent approach. Right? So this for me could have meant like, hey, if it felt right, 1 meal a day, one really large meal a day at lunch. And if you do that consistently, it's good for weight management. Or he's saying, in my circumstance, what would work best for me is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm hearing a biochemist confirm to me that it is okay to eat on a regular basis within reason. And then within the same time frame, I'm hearing Dr. Stacy Sims on Andrew Huberman's podcast discuss the importance of women not running so often with the sympathetic or the drive fasted state type of side of the nervous system. Right? And it's not so simplistic like that, but she was just kind of trying to break it down that women don't work as effectively when they're constantly on this overdrive, fasted state. Let me eat fasted. Let me work out. Let me eat fasted. Sorry. Let me work out when I'm in a fasted state. She was kind of saying women work better when they fuel their bodies more consistently. Discernment. I had this knowing, and I had scientists confirming that that's what it is that I needed to do. If I was in a different state of life, if I felt called to fast more, then the things that probably would have stuck out to me would have been the fasting research. But that's not what I was being called to do. That's not what was resonating with me. Your relationship with God is alive and personal, and you have to discern what he's calling you to do at that moment. It doesn't mean there's not a place for fasting. And it doesn't mean that God might not call me to fast in the future. Guess what? He did. And for the first time, I fasted out of a place of love and elation for how it was making my body feel, as opposed to Teresa Fitzgibbon, or you better get to 8 a.m. the next morning without breaking the fast or else. Remove yourself from the noise and follow your instinct. Listen to God. So those strategies, those things we just discussed, are a little bit more focused on thoughts about food. Another thing that really helped me was eliminating any thoughts about food altogether. Solving the problem is not going to be by hyperfixating on the problem. It's going to be by creating an entire life, a new mindset, a new lifestyle where I'm not focusing on food at all. So what am I doing? new experiences, finally getting out of my comfort zone, doing the things where I'm just being and I'm not consistently thinking. I think I've said this before, but when I was in elementary school, I would often read a book on the bus, and it was always by the grace of God that I would close the book right before my bus stop. I would get so engrossed in what it is that I was reading that I forgot where I was, and I forgot that my bus stop was coming up, and I never missed my stop because, I'd be like, oh God, I gotta get off the bus, and I'd close my book. That's the type of thing that we need to be pursuing, or that you don't need to be pursuing, but that might help. Where are you just being? Where is it when you forget yourself? For me, it's doing things like this. I kind of have been thinking about food for the past, 20 minutes because we've been talking about food. But later on, I'm going to go and edit it and I'll play a podcast and I'll kind of forget myself. Doing the things that help us be, create space in our brains to focus on something else. I also think new experiences open up different neural pathways because we're so focused on, let me figure out this new experience, where I have to go, what it is that I need to be doing, that there's no room in our brains to be so hyper fixated on food. I also think, and I don't have any research to back this up, but it kind of stands to reason that it probably reorients our reward system to not be so focused on getting reward from food, but it reminds ourselves that reward and the dopamine system can lock into things other than food. It can be associated with going to a new sporting event, joining a club, meeting new people, pursuing a hobby. I think it probably helps reorient the reward circuit and bring us to a place that is more ordered, because it's disordered to have our reward neurochemistry only focus on food. And we know it's disordered because it's leading us to a place of chaos, depression, loneliness, and isolation. Point number 4. How is this addiction serving you? Ask yourself, what is this allowing me to do? Because it's serving you in a way, it just might be the wrong thing. Is it giving you an opportunity to relax? Is it giving you elation? Is it giving you excitement, pleasure? Is it turning your brain off? Is it allowing you to disconnect? Is it allowing you to emote feelings which you don't normally allow yourself to feel in other circumstances, but you'll allow yourself to feel something after binge eating? You'll feel sad, angry, and frustrated in regard to the binge, but what it is that you really need to do is allow yourself to feel sad, angry, and upset regarding maybe something else. You need to process those emotions, but you're using binge eating to do so. How is the addiction serving you? I think I've mentioned Rachel Wrigley in the past, but this is where I got this tool. Is, she said in one of her videos, this is serving you in a way. And you do have to ultimately decide that you're going to allow other things to serve the purpose that this addiction is serving you. So for me, among other reasons, because binge eating is multifaceted and highly complex, it's not just a psychological problem. Since it involves eating, it also means that there's different physiological responses that are impacting how you move forward from binge eating, making it either harder or easier to get out of that cycle. So it's not just this, but one of the reasons and one of the ways that binge eating was serving me is it was giving me an opportunity to completely relax. I feel guilty taking a rest. I still do. I'm not the most prudent, disciplined person in the world. I also don't want to come off morally superior. I need these reminders too. Sometimes I go back and listen to myself because I need those reminders. I will. I'll sometimes turn myself on in the background and it gets me a view. But I'll relax, but I'm not allowing myself to do so. So I'm stressed and guilty. So it's not a complete disconnection from the things that I'm worrying about or the things that I need to do, because we all need to step away. We all need rest. But what allowed me to completely disconnect was after a binge, I felt allowed to go in my room, shut the door, and disconnect from the world, because I was like, all right, it stands to reason. There's just, I'm at the bottom of the barrel, so I finally don't care about all the other things that I need to be doing. I'm going to completely set them aside because I feel so disgusting that I don't even feel like I need to care about those things. And also my body is now going to enter into the rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system because I'm now digesting a bunch of food and I have no energy to do other things because my body is using the energy to digest all the food that I ate. So I'm finally going to get tired and I'm finally going to be able to take a complete nap. It is after a binge sometimes that I would have the best sleep of my life. Again, just indicating that on the other days I was probably underfueling close to bed. But that's how it served me, is it allowed me to completely relax. How does binge eating or whatever you're addicted to serve you? And can you create something that is nearly just as enticing as binge eating that you could see yourself pursuing? What's the one thing that you could do that you would do? JP. Not JP2. Different JP. Jordan Peterson. What's the one thing you would do that you could do? And romanticize it in your mind. It's kind of like what they talk about in Atomic Habits. James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits. One person, not plural. Habit stacking, or when you have to go do something that is difficult, can you make it a little bit more enticing? For example, there's a guy in the book where he didn't want to work out, but he loved watching Netflix. And so he attached his screen, I think he was like an engineer, he attached a screen to his Peloton, and the show would only go if he was Pelotoning, if he was biking, because the bike was providing his screen with a source of energy. You get it, it's kind of creating it so that working out is more enticing. He's doing something that he loves to do while doing something that he hates to do. Or a girl that I used to tutor, I used to say, let's create your work environment so it's so comfortable and cute that you want to go sit down at your desk. She got like a blue keyboard, and that just kind of made her a little bit more excited about going down to sit at her desk. So for me, if I need to rest, and I don't do this, so I guess I'm giving very much so advice to myself right now. Romanticizing the rest. Let me go in my room. Let me turn on my lights that are really cute and cozy. Let me put Harry Potter on in the background. Let me make sure my bed is all made. Let me have a warm cup of coffee or tea. Let me maybe turn some nice music on in the background, and let me curl up with a good book. Oh my gosh, that sounds so enticing. And now that I've created something that sounds enjoyable, it might be easier to pursue that thing than focus and give in to the urgency to go and binge eat in order to rest. Number 5, stay inspired. I used to feel really guilty needing motivation consistently and inspiration consistently. Why can't I just bring it all up from within at every single moment of every single day? Why does it feel like I need God so much? Why does it feel like I need consistent inspiration? The people that are closest to God, religious clergy, Buddhist monks, I'm blanking on other religions, imams, Catholic little nuns, they have practices throughout the entirety of their day to connect with God. They need consistent inspiration. And if they're allowed to do so, then we're allowed to also need consistent inspiration to keep us afloat as well and to keep us in this good place as well. I think we can't let it get out of order so much where we're idolizing and 100% relying on other sources to lift us up. But if you notice podcast, music, friends, activities that spiral you upward, meditating, prayer that spirals you upward, create your day where those things are involved. Because maybe you're having not so great of a week, right? And you kind of feel yourself spiraling downward, maybe wanting to binge eat. Oh, but you already pre-planned a talk with that friend that brings you up, and boom, you're up and you're ready for the rest of the week. We need those boosts, and it's okay to need those boosts. Notice the things that inspire you. Notice the things that spiral you upward, and incorporate them into your day and into your week. And it will be a lot easier to stay up here as opposed to spiraling downward and being more likely to go and binge eat. Last thing, doing something that we're addicted to, something that we wish we wouldn't do after we binged ate, brings us to a place where we feel obligated to be angry, self-loathsome, upset with ourselves. It brings us to a place where we feel obligated to punish ourselves and to be really angry. Again, we're not obligated to be that way. In fact, we probably shouldn't, because the truth is, it's just going to lead us farther downward, farther away from peace, farther away from God. We don't feel worthy of being at peace after we just violated ourselves by shoving 15,000 calories down our throats. But a huge reason why I continued to cycle through binge eating and became really depressed is because after I would binge eat, I would further punish myself, giving the devil a wide open door to come in with some really self-loathsome negative thought patterns. And you can take that literally or figuratively. Either way, it created an opportunity for some really bad cognitive behavior. Jesus died on the cross so we wouldn't have to punish ourselves. He already paid the price. That doesn't mean we can just open up the door to things that lead us further away from God, which by definition is a sin. Because we're going to come out from under his protection and it's going to make it easier for us to spiral downward. We shouldn't just open the door. But when we do something that opens that door, we're not obligated to make it worse. We're not obligated to punish ourselves. That's what the devil, whatever you want to call it, the part of your limbic system, wants you to think. The devil angel wants you to think. You really just messed up. You need to punish yourself. So, if you just did something that you really wish you didn't do, something that would open the door for more negative spiraling downward. This is really hard to do, but digging deep and giving the devil a middle finger by going and doing something that is ultimately an act of love toward yourself that would bring you closer to God. Getting up and saying, hey, I messed up, but I'm going to leave all the negativity, badness, that little demon, I'm going to leave him right here. And I'm going to walk away as fast as I can. And again, this requires a lot of digging deep. Because when you do something that is ultimately not best for you, it is really hard to be in the crosshairs between further downward or upward. And the downward is really heavy and it's really strong. And it's an antagonizing liar that will convince you that you're not allowed to do this, that you're not allowed to spiral upward. And the spiraling upward is a little bit quieter and a little bit more peaceful. This sometimes feels heavier. But if you want to give this a middle finger, go do this thing that'll make you feel alive again. That will make you feel worthy of spiraling upward, of the love of God. The first episode in this series, I said on that podcast that I had binged ate that day. I did. I binged ate that day. Now, some of you are going to hear this and you're going to think, that is an extreme behavior, Teresa. But for me, it really was an act of love. I was like, you know what? Screw this. I haven't worked out today. I'm going to go run 5 miles. I often run 5 miles. It's not that extreme. It required a lot of digging deep to not just go shut myself in my room and continue spiraling downward. I said, I'm going to go give the devil a middle finger. And I went and I ran 5 miles and I listened to nearly all of the Wicked soundtrack. And I created some of my own lyrics. So if you care to find me, stupid little demon devil's binge eating behavior, you can look to the heavens. You can look to the western sky. Because as God told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. And if I'm flying with God, at least I'm flying free. To those who ground me, take a message back from me. I left the gym feeling fantastic. I went home and I recorded the first episode of this podcast. I went and I did what I'm called to do, as opposed to allowing the lies, the devil, the bad negative cognitive behavior, whatever you want to call it, to keep me in the drudge. And it's as if I put me as a piece into the puzzle that I was designed to be in. That's all. Bye.